A brutal escalation, historical shadows, and present horrors. The current war in Ukraine did not begin in a vacuum. Its roots stretch back, most notably to 2014. Russia's annexation of Crimea then was a clear sign. Its support for separatists in eastern Ukraine further destabilized the region. These actions were precursors to a larger, more devastating ambition. The world observed these developments with varying degrees of concern and action. Understanding this recent history is crucial. It provides the necessary context for the full-scale invasion that followed. The echoes of past aggressions resonate in every shell and every ruined city today, a grim reminder of unchecked power. The conflict reached a new peak of intensity just days ago. On the night of May 24th and into May 25, 2025, Russia launched its most significant combined air assault of the entire war. This was not a small, isolated incident. It was a massive, coordinated barrage. The scale was staggering. 367 drones and missiles were unleashed upon Ukraine. These included a terrifying variety of munitions. There were 9 Iskander-M and KN-23 ballistic missiles, designed for speed and impact. 55 Kh-101 and Kaliber cruise missiles were also used, alongside 1 Kh-22 cruise missile and 4 Kh-59-69 cruise missiles. Finally, a swarm of 298 Shahed drones, many likely serving as decoys, filled the night sky. The targets of this enormous attack were spread across numerous Ukrainian oblasts. This demonstrates a clear intent to cause widespread terror and damage. Cities such as Kyiv, the capital, were hit hard. Chernihiv, Zhytomyr, and Khmelnytsky also suffered. Further south and east, Ternopil, Sumy, Odessa, and Poltava were targeted. Dnipro, Mykolaiv, Kharkiv, and Cherkasy also found themselves under fire. The assault was comprehensive, aiming to overwhelm defenses across the nation. Residential buildings in Kyiv sustained significant damage, turning homes into rubble. In the village of Markalivka near Kyiv, several homes were utterly destroyed by the bombardment. The human cost of this specific barrage was immediate and dreadful. At least 12 people lost their lives in this single night of attacks. The broader human cost of this protracted war extends far beyond any single attack. Each day brings new casualties, new displacements, and new stories of suffering. Millions have been forced from their homes, seeking safety elsewhere in Ukraine or in foreign lands. The psychological toll on the population is immense, particularly on children. Amidst this grim reality, a significant prisoner exchange occurred on May 25, 2025. Russia and Ukraine exchanged 307 soldiers each, the largest such swap since the war began. While a moment of relief for those involved, it underscores the vast numbers affected by capture and detention throughout this brutal conflict. Despite the overwhelming nature of the May 24th to 25th assault, Ukrainian air defense forces mounted a determined response. They faced a deluge of missiles and drones designed to saturate their capabilities. Nevertheless, official reports indicate they successfully intercepted and destroyed a significant portion of the incoming threats. Ukrainian forces managed to shoot down 45 cruise missiles. They also neutralized 139 of the Shahed drones. This achievement, in the face of such a massive attack, speaks to their skill and resilience. It highlights the critical importance of continued support for Ukraine's defensive systems, which stand between Russian munitions and civilian lives. Ukraine's broader defensive strategy relies on this resilience and the ingenuity of its people. President Volodymyr Zelensky swiftly condemned the May 24th to 25th attacks. He particularly noted their cynical timing, coinciding with Kyiv Day celebrations. He reiterated urgent calls for increased international sanctions against Russia. His chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, emphasized the critical need to maintain and intensify pressure on the aggressor state. This resolve is mirrored in the actions of ordinary Ukrainians who continue to resist and rebuild. Their spirit remains a crucial component of the nation's defense against a numerically superior foe. Naturally, the Russian Ministry of Defense presented its own narrative of the events. They claim to have shot down 110 Ukrainian drones during the same night of May 24th to 25th. Such claims are a standard feature of the information war that runs parallel to the physical conflict. It is vital to approach all information from belligerents with caution. However, the verified destruction within Ukraine and the confirmed interceptions by Ukrainian air defenses paint a clearer picture of the aggressor and the defender. The battle for truth is as fiercely contested as the battle on the ground, each side seeking to shape global perceptions. Russia's current strategy under Vladimir Putin appears multifaceted. It heavily involves the use of long-range strikes like the one seen on May 24th to 25th. Over the past 8 months, since approximately September 2024, these attacks have intensified significantly. Indeed, 7 of the largest drone and missile barrages have occurred since January 2025 alone. This aerial bombardment is coupled with aggressive rhetoric from figures like Dmitry Medvedev. He recently suggested Russia would occupy most of Ukraine if Western aid continues, even calling for a vast buffer zone. This rhetoric aims to degrade Ukrainian morale and convince Western partners that supporting Ukraine is a futile endeavor. On the ground, Russian forces have made some recent advances, albeit at a considerable cost. They successfully eliminated a Ukrainian pocket southwest of Toretsk after a grueling 4-month offensive. This involved pushing forward in central Zoraya and northern Romanivka, and likely seizing Stara Mykolaiivka and Hanativka. Further gains have been reported in Kursk Oblast near the border, and in contested areas around Kharkiv. Geolocated footage confirmed Russian advances in western Gornal, southwest of Sudzha, and in northern Vovchansk, northeast of Kharkiv city. These territorial shifts, though sometimes small, indicate continued offensive pressure from Russian forces across several sectors. The international response to the latest escalation has been varied. President Zelensky condemned the silence of America following the major air raid, urging stronger global condemnation and action. Former U.S. President Donald Trump offered his own commentary. He warned that Putin's attempts to conquer all of Ukraine would lead to Russia's downfall. He also described Putin as having gone absolutely crazy. Interestingly, Trump also criticized President Zelensky's own rhetoric. He indicated he was considering more sanctions on Russia due to the ongoing attacks, yet had recently declined further sanctions when Moscow did not agree to an immediate ceasefire, revealing a complex and somewhat contradictory stance. Diplomatic efforts continue, though breakthroughs remain elusive. Ukraine and its European allies have been actively pushing for a 30-day ceasefire. This aims to create space for broader negotiations and alleviate immediate suffering. Russia, while publicly dismissing ceasefire discussions on its own terms, has attempted to frame the recent large prisoner exchange as an indicator of its supposed interest in peace processes. Simultaneously, Russia is actively leveraging its partnerships with China, Iran, and North Korea. These relationships help to counteract its diplomatic isolation from the West and provide alternative avenues for economic and, in some cases, military support, further complicating the international diplomatic landscape. Russia's long-term objectives in Ukraine appear unchanged, despite setbacks and heavy losses. President Putin seems steadfastly committed to outlasting Western support for Kiev. He likely views the eventual cessation of Western military and financial aid as Russia's primary, perhaps only realistic path to achieving a victory on its terms. The aggressive rhetoric, such as Dmitry Medvedev's call for a buffer zone encompassing almost all of Ukraine, serves to articulate these maximalist ambitions. It also functions as a tool to intimidate and project an image of unwavering resolve, regardless of the actual feasibility of such vast territorial conquests. However, Russia faces profound challenges in sustaining its war effort. The human cost for its own forces is staggering. Estimates suggest that Russian forces have suffered approximately 177,000 casualties in Ukraine since the beginning of 2025 alone. Furthermore, Russia's defense industrial base is struggling. It cannot produce enough new armored vehicles and artillery systems to adequately replace the vast quantities lost on the battlefield. This industrial strain is compounded by significant labor shortages across the Russian economy. The Kremlin is increasingly reliant on migrant workers to fill gaps in various sectors, a situation that presents its own set of socio-economic pressures. The sheer scale of Russia's more extreme territorial ambitions, like Medvedev's proposed buffer zone, seems almost fantastical when scrutinized. Independent analysis suggests that at the current rate of Russian advance, it would take their forces approximately 91 years to seize such a vast territory. This hypothetical conquest would also incur nearly 50 million Russian casualties. Such a campaign would require overcoming immense geographic barriers and deeply entrenched Ukrainian defenses. Meanwhile, Russian forces are increasingly launching missiles from occupied Crimea. Over 50 missiles have been fired from mobile systems based there since the start of January 2025, indicating a strategic shift or necessity. In conclusion, the massive airstrike on May 24th to 25th 2025, represents a brutal escalation in an already devastating conflict. The human tragedy continues to unfold daily, with both sides enduring immense suffering. The war is a complex interplay of military maneuvers, strategic propaganda, and shifting international alignments. Russia remains committed to its long-term goals, despite facing significant internal challenges and battlefield realities. The influence of global diplomacy, international aid, and sustained Ukrainian resistance will ultimately shape the future of this conflict. The path ahead remains deeply uncertain, fraught with peril, and demands unwavering attention from the international community.